All right, we're back again. Recap of the Masters, talk a little RBC Heritage. It's brothers on the green. We got PGA Tour Pro Dice. We got Bobby here. One of our not a great week in terms of giving out picks last week, but what a golf tournament it was. I mean, just from start to finish, unbelievable golf. Even just
Mhm.
the first 54 holes. I mean, it doesn't get better than that on a Thursday to Saturday. And then Sunday was absolutely crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, it was some of the most exhilarating golf that you can get. We were down in South Carolina watching it, with our dad, with one of our cousins, Joe. It was a great experience, right? It was something that, you have to watch from start to finish. Got
hmm
19 million viewers right at the end, which for golf, I mean, that's incredible. That's more
Yeah.
than an average NFL game. So it's all about the big players, right? Coming out, showing out, playing their best golf. And that's what we got this week from a few guys. So we'll start off obviously with the winner, a Grand Slam champion, right? Solidified himself as a top 10 golfer of all time if he retired today.
Yep.
That's Mr. Rory McIlroy, right? I mean, he finally did it. He finally conquered those demons at Augusta and really at majors in general, right? Over the last 11 years it's been since his last win. We saw some of the worst shots and some of the best shots just on that back nine from Rory. But four doubles for the week. We'll get into some specific shots here in a minute. But Dice, what did you want to start off with regarding the Masters and Augusta?
Yeah, I mean, I think you obviously hit it on the head with starting off with Rory. Obviously, everybody coming into the week was talking about Rory, how it's like his form, it's his time, everything like that. And like we talked about last week, I thought that might have been a bit much mentally for him, just like that extra layer of like just pressure put on him on top of everything that he was already dealing with. But obviously, he dealt with it very well. He had those two doubles at the end of round one, which everybody's like, I saw they were posting like stuff on, X about how like people were just so like distraught about how he was already collapsing on round one when there were still 54 holes of golf left. So I thought it was very impressive how he bounced back mentally. But one thing that I did notice with Rory, which, again, goes into why he won on the week, which is really how well he's hitting his irons. I think if he's hitting his irons this well, this consistently moving forward, it's going to be really tough to beat him if his driver stays where it's at.
100%. I mean, those iron shots on 15 on Sunday,
Oh,
or that iron shot on 15 on Sunday, that is ridiculous. To hook it that much and get it
seven.
that high and to land it that soft. All the players were talking about how firm the greens were,
Yeah.
and it's tough to tell when you're watching Bryson and Rory all day. They hit the ball a mile in the air, so nothing looks that firm to them.
Nah.
But to get it to land that soft on 15 and then on 17, that iron shot, I mean, just absolutely ripping, probably at an 8 iron, which I hate. They don't tell you
Yeah.
any of the clubs are really hitting, I feel like, at Augusta.
Because he's like 190.
Yeah, but I mean, that was ridiculous. And then obviously, right, the wedge shots on 13 and 18. 13, I mean, 85 yards. He finally, he played a conservative hole, put himself in a good spot. He had to miss his target by 20 yards. I
He
mean,
flubbed it. Yeah, completely flubbed it. He was probably, I assume, aiming for the middle of the green, letting it run down that slope like everybody else did. But
yeah,
that's the thing with, playing with the lead compared to being tied or maybe a stroke or two back. Like you start playing a different style of golf than you're accustomed to, and you obviously, you're going to run into maybe some more mistakes when you go with that route. So obviously he takes driver off the tee, hits a normal iron, probably not having that same discussion, but that obviously made the tournament that much better. It got Rose making that sick run on the back nine. I think, what do you have, six birdies on the back, or was it eight?
he had six birdies on the
Six
back,
birdies,
and
two
I think a
bogeys, and
couple
like,
bogeys. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So I think it obviously made the tournament that much better, but also at the same time, just for like, what we always talk about having the lead in a golf tournament, playing smart. There's, of course, an element to playing smart when you need to, but when it's like a par five and it's really like the driver's the best club in your bag and it's just an easy one to get to, there's no need to probably force a layup there. But, thankfully he won. It's not something that he'll have to really regret at the end of the day.
yeah. That for sure. With Rory, you wouldn't be upset if he took driver right and went, his
Yeah,
driver 5 iron there. But he played the hole perfect. It literally
I know.
it was one of those things, and it started from the first hole, right? I mean, that drive, his driver's been getting over that bunker all week. You could tell as soon as he hit it, he kind of felt it was going to go in the bunker, even though it
Yeah.
landed, what, 6 inches short of the lip.
Same
He
on
had no
two.
lie coming out. Same on two, right? As soon as he hit it, you could tell he didn't love it.
Yep.
And then it hits that top lip again. Really, he said his most important shot was the chip
Yeah.
on three. Yeah,
Yep.
which was an incredible chip to set himself up for birdie there and give himself some momentum. Right.
Yep.
Then again, that iron shot on four was just incredible. I mean, you can't
Gross.
flush a golf ball.
Him and Ludwig did the same
Oh,
thing there. If you remember, Ludwig just like a heat-seeking missile that goes so high in the air and just plops down like the it's just not firm greens, which obviously they're very firm at that point.
and Ludwig, right, another great Masters. He was tied
Yep.
for the lead with a couple holes to go. Him, Rose, and Rory were all at 10 under right before
Yeah.
Rory hit that shot on 15. And then, the tough finish cost himself like 700,000 between 17 and 18, right? He bogeyed 17
Yep.
and tripled 18. But, just another sign that Ludwig is the future, right? Or he's the current, but he's also
Present. Yep.
definitely the future, for
Exactly.
sure.
I just think I remember like on Saturday, I just like he was basically out of the tournament. He was up there with like Hideki, Xander range like -3, and then all of a sudden he finishes Saturday with 3 or 4 birdies to really
Yeah.
get himself into contention. And then obviously he just stayed steady all day Sunday. I saw an 11. He was a little bit right. They decided to chip out, not make the same mistake as last year going in the water. And he made like a 20-footer for par, which really, sort of got him going and actually up there to -10 in the lead at some point. But like you said, he had that three jack on 17, got the bogey, then probably a bit mentally defeated, just hearing all the roars, knowing he just putted himself out of the tournament. But like you said, he's definitely the present, definitely the future, and obviously just he's a robot, that guy.
100%.
Yeah.
Justin Rose, obviously, he lost in a playoff,
Mhm.
but the guy never gives up. He is, and we've talked about him. I've talked about him a few times so far.
Can't believe we weren't on him at all.
I know, and we talked about him as a sleeper, right? But of
No.
course, didn't make him one of our picks. He's just an ultimate pro. He's incredibly clutch with the putter when it matters, right? I mean, you saw it at the Ryder Cup, saw it at the Open last year, right? So his game has been trending for over a year now, and
Mhm.
this is something that just I think it locked him into the Ryder Cup at Bethpage,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Whether or not he makes it on points, Donald made an Instagram post right talking about the Masters. Big part of it was Justin Rose and how incredible he is, right? 44 years
Yeah.
old. He's just got such
He's a competitor.
he's got such class to his game. He was a guy that could have took the money from Live, right? And
Oh yeah.
probably would have ended his hopes of making any sort of run like this.
Yep.
Definitely would have ended his hopes of making a run like this. And he knew he had something left in the tank, right? And
Yep.
I think he still does with just how consistent he is and how mentally strong he is, right? Even when he's not playing his best,
Yep.
which right on Friday he didn't play well. He grinded out one under.
Tough
Saturday
after
he
that seven
struggled.
under. It's just it's always tough for those guys after you get a couple stroke lead that early, especially at an event like the Masters. I feel like it's always tough to really support that. So I honestly thought like the +1, even though like you said he didn't have his best stuff, pretty good score for like being in that situation that early in the tournament, to be honest.
Yeah, no, 100%. So Rose, very impressive. He's someone that we'll be watching as the year goes on.
Big events. I feel like the smaller ones he's probably not as juiced up for, but any big event, he'll obviously if his game's sharp, he has the
And I think it
mental
has to do
ability.
with the tough golf courses, right? He
I
knows how to
agree.
get his way around. He knows how to make the tough pars.
Yeah.
He doesn't, if he's in trouble, he gets himself out of it and just moves on. And that's something when the score is 20, 22 under, he's going to shoot his 10 to 12 under, but he's not going to really go very low a lot of weeks,
Yeah,
which I think suits up well for the majors, obviously. And
I
that
agree.
gets us into Bryson, right? That he struggled all week with his irons, right, from the start.
Yeah.
His short game is incredible right now. I mean,
Yeah.
he's getting up and down from places that people never thought you'd get up and down at Augusta, right? He holed out a bunker shot on Saturday, his putt to end the day on Saturday, right? So he's was very impressive because he did not have his best stuff by any means.
No.
Especially regarding the iron. So I enjoyed watching Bryson this week, and that was our one guy that did have a chance, right,
Yeah.
coming into Sunday. But after really after the fourth or fifth hole, you could tell Rory was just playing better golf,
Yeah,
right?
and it was just bright, like you said, Bryson simply like you just can't compete for 72 holes when you don't have your irons at that level. Like maybe
At
if it was like
Augusta. Yeah.
15th, 20th in the field, will give himself actually a shot, especially with the short game that he's had, at least for, what we saw last week. But I just striking like that, it's just so tough to really keep up with someone like Rory when he's first in the field and driving, first in approach. He did struggle with the putting, but it's just when you're striking at that poor, no matter how good the short game is, you're simply just not getting enough opportunities to make up for some of the bogeys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. A few other things I wanted to discuss regarding Augusta. Uh, the coverage is, I'm getting sick of it. I mean, get a main feed coverage on the app. If you don't want to put it on TV until 3 o'clock,
I
right,
agree.
Thursday, Friday, give us a main feed where we can watch the leaders, right? We couldn't watch Bryson at all on Friday except for those few, right? Amen corner, four,
We
five,
saw a
six.
lot of comments about it too. There was
Oh,
people chirping about it.
yeah, because I mean this guy is playing important golf and you can't
No.
watch him and you can't get a good understanding for where his game is at because there's no coverage.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the Paramount Plus was nice, right, the last couple days. But
Yeah.
again, like the Open, the PGA, not great. US Open, you get a little bit of the early coverage.
Mhm.
Yeah, US Open, you actually get good coverage. They go to USA to, NBC. They flip it around where it's
Yeah.
always on TV. So I think the Masters hopefully sooner or later will allow us, you know, let's call ourselves peasants that aren't at Augusta National to actually understand what's going on throughout the day.
Just tough.
And
I was gonna say the app, like, I like the app. I like how you could see everybody's shot and all that, but it's just like it's so much better to track a normal PGA Tour event or even any of like the other majors, really, just in terms of like just the tracking data that we can use compared to Augusta, because Augusta keeps it all to themselves. They don't give it out to
they
any of
don't,
like
yeah, no FanDuel coverage or
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
so the pin on 16 on Sunday, complete garbage. I get it was supposed to be for Jack, right? 50 years since he made of the putt, which I don't think I've ever seen up the hill on 16. But that is just not the Sunday pin. I mean,
No.
in any way, shape, or form. They always have two funnel pins, and they had one, right? So let's get it back on Sunday. And that's where people make big swings in the tournament, right? It
It's
would have
just
been good for
dramatic.
Rory. Yeah, it's
The
dramatic, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you bring the water into play when the pin's on the right, the water's not in play. You
Yeah.
bring that bunker into play, right? When the pin's on the right, everyone's hitting it into the middle of the green. There's only a handful of guys at most that missed it in a short-sided spot right of the
Yeah.
green, right? If they were off the green, they were just off the green on the right with the simple two putt, right?
Most guys are just below the hole having what, 50, 60
Yeah,
feet, depending
up
on
the
which
hill,
side of the green you're on up the hill.
which is, it's not an easy putt by any means, but
Ah.
it's just not, it takes some of the juice out of that hole. And then the last thing, Mr. Bernard Longer, his last Masters. I mean, the
Oh,
fact this guy should have made the cut, right? He was even
15,
par with 4 holes to go. The cut was what, two over?
2, and he finished at 3.
15, he hit a decent wedge, right? It was into the wind. It just spun off the green, went into the water, couldn't get
Yep.
up and down to save the bogey, ended with a double. And then 18, he gave himself, a decent look after he hits hybrid
Yeah.
into that green, right? Rory's hitting sand wedge. He was, I think, on average, he was just under 70 yards shorter than Bryson and Rory.
Yeah.
And he gave himself a real chance to make that cut, which would have been incredible. But it was a nice scene, right? I mean, it's incredible. It's really
Him and Freddie.
him and Freddie. Yeah, him and Freddie. But Longer coming off an Achilles, coming off like 68 years old, his
It's
wedges
Philly.
and his irons through the bag is so consistent and just so good.
It's He should have no chance to make that cut. And the fact that he shot, what did he shoot the first day? I think it was 2 over, and then he was 2 under going into
Yeah,
fifth,
could have
going
won
in
it two
on
over.
15 on a Friday, and then obviously, like we just said, had the water ball, and then ended up making one more bogey on 18. But it's just, I mean, it's pretty absurd for a guy that age that hits it probably what, like 260 maybe? Is he out there
Yeah,
that much?
yeah. He hits it probably 260.
Yeah, 260, maybe 270 on a course that length. That's just, it's really absurd.
7,600 yards. Yeah, you don't get a lot of rollout at Augusta because they do,
Saw that with
apparently
Spieth.
mow all the grain is into you right the whole time. They never talk about it. Like Spieth made clear that mud balls are a major factor at
Yeah.
Augusta. Never thought about that. Never realized that, but it makes sense when you think about how green it is and how soft
Yeah.
it can be, but also the fact that it's all mowed into the grain. So that ball is just digging into the ground.
Yeah.
Unless you're Rory McIlroy and carry 330 with no spin on the ball, then
It's
yeah,
because you do see some like balls, they get some solid bounce and like once the drive lands into the fairway, but I guess some really do get that mud side. I thought it was pretty like Speed said, we never hear it because I guess they do tell them to not talk about it, but thought it was very interesting how he was like way out of the tournament and like brought that up as like the reason why he's out of it. But again, I love Speed probably didn't really mean it like that. It just sounded when you don't
he
hear it at
just
all
likes
and
to
then just one
complain.
yeah, just one player says it, it just comes off a bit the wrong way.
So it was a great Masters. I mean, probably the best Masters. Obviously, 2019 was great, right? 2019 will always be the top of the list in terms of our lifetime, but this is a
Yeah,
close second. And it really has not been this close of an event in a few
exactly.
years. So
Yeah, that's what made it just to actually have drama coming down the last hole of the tournament rather than basically being over by like 13, 14. It makes a huge difference with the ratings like we saw, but just in terms of enjoyment watching it.
yeah. So this week, another elevated event, which a lot of the guys are probably not happy about after grinding their butt off at Augusta and
Yeah.
then having to go straight over to RBC. But it seems like they keep it pretty relaxed, right? I'll
Yeah.
get into a slight course overview in a minute. John was able to go to the practice round on Tuesday because we were down south for the week. I came home unfortunately before that, but John, tell us a little bit about what you saw, what you like
Yeah.
about the course. What players did you see out there? Obviously, we
Yeah.
didn't see Cam Young. I don't know if he's
I
trying to
was gonna say
his baby or
I was
not.
gonna start off with I saw basically every single player besides Cam Young, and my eyes were obviously looking for Cam Young specifically. So that
Mhm.
was a bit of a letdown. But I mean, in terms of actually on the course, I saw Colin go off 10. I watched them on 10 because that's right next to like the putting green on the range area when we first got there. So we saw him go off 10. We saw Scotty go off 10 after he did like the opening tee shot with the
Yeah,
cannon going off in 18. So we saw him actually out there alone, the only guy I saw without like a practice partner out there. So I saw Scotty, I saw Ludwig. I posted Ludwig on X. He signed literally between every single hole, walking from 10 to 11, 11 to 12, whatever fans were there, signed an autograph, took a picture literally during his practice round. So I thought that was pretty impressive. And then who else did I
it's
see?
just
I mean,
it's
I
just
saw
nice to see that he's a human.
a
He
nice kid.
appreciates
Yeah,
where
he's
he's
just
at.
Bob
And
was shocked how young he looked. I was like, we obviously know he's 25, but I guess in person he was just very
got a
surprised
baby
that
face. Yeah,
yeah, he's baby face. He's a bit more slender than he looks on TV. So dad was a bit surprised with just like how really young he looks when you got up close.
yeah. He seems just like a great person, a genuine guy. Again,
And
appreciates
the
where he's at,
the
and
girls are hunting him. Oh, so like a mom was like propping her daughter up there. They looked like Swedish people. That she was like propping her daughter up to him, a blonde with blue eyes, just looking at her like, "Please, Ludwig." And Ludwig took a picture. Then I saw them following him in the practice round as well. It's pretty funny.
Sure. I mean, I can only imagine.
But
I can only imagine. But
mhm.
all right, so let's get into the golf course. It's a great golf course. I've always enjoyed watching this event. It has a lot of good history, right? We were looking. Stuart Sink has won this event 3 times. Luke Donald has finished twice here 5 times, which
Jeez,
is I thought was pretty interesting.
like
Two
Cameron.
different styles of golf, right? But Luke Donald makes sense in terms of he had the best short game for a period of probably 5, 6 years. Wasn't a great driver of the ball. Was a solid
Displacement.
iron player. So, I think that's the type of player that we're looking for, right? Just a grinder, knows how to score, knows how to keep himself in play. Again, it's that type of golf course. You get in trouble, you got to get yourself out of it, right?
Yeah, very tight.
It's very tight, it's tree lined. It's going to give you some potential to try and hit the shot up towards the green, right? On a lot of those recovery shots, but most of the time it's not worth it, right? Chip it out, have a wedge in, try and make your four. If not, make a five and move on because there are plenty of birdie opportunities out here, but it just comes down to hitting the driver well, right? So we
Yeah,
got 3 par 5s. Number two is very reachable, right? I think it's a little over 500 yards from the tips.
550 listed.
550.
Yeah, it's listed as 550 right
Okay.
now.
So that's again, very short for these guys,
Very
very
short.
reachable. Number five, I think is, probably what, like 570.
Yep, 569, close.
Yeah, so it's again a reachable hole. You can cut that dog leg a little bit. It's a tough driving hole.
Hmm.
But if you get nuclear with it, it's very reachable. Number nine, that drivable par four, right? A lot
Yeah.
of times they're just trying to get it up in that front bunker or lay it up. That's a hole that gets some tricky pins, right? You get the pin on the left side there. You can't miss right. You have no shot at going at the hole. Same thing, right side. You can't miss left, right? It has a little U shape to
The
it.
green on nine you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
That was in because that's right next to the clubhouse, basically. So that was right when we walked in.
Oh yeah,
It's
next to the putting
very,
green. I can see
yeah,
that.
it's skinny up front. It's got obviously like the shape to the right, the shape to the left. But yeah, like you said, if you miss to the left and you got to go to the left, you're done. Miss
Yeah.
to the right, you got to go to the right, you're done. So I did see a good amount of guys I feel like lining up when I watched on nine, but that also might have been because wind was into them, at least on
Yeah.
a Tuesday heading
That
that
makes
direction.
sense.
So probably because of that, but it definitely, it seems like if it's like a downwind, no wind, one of those holes, I assume most guys will probably try and get it up there and, just get it as close as possible off the tee.
Yeah, I think, and the wind doesn't look too severe. At least the first couple days, it looks pretty, pretty gentle out there, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful weather all 4 days, which we're up in friggin' New York and New Jersey again, so
Uh,
I'm very
it
jealous.
was brutal getting off. But one quick thing about like the weather for down there, I noticed when I was walking up 16, 17, 18, like compared to the rest of the course, the breeze just opens up so much more. It's like it feels like you're on a different property almost, with just like how much it's gusting there compared to the rest of the course because it's a bit more, hidden and away from the water. So
Yeah,
I definitely think, actually getting a feel and being there, it's clearly a very tough finishing stretch with just like how much the elements are in play there, compared to the rest of the course. But I thought that was very interesting as well.
yeah, and this course really, the par threes are very well known for playing tough, right? That's kind of the protection here. Number four, classic risk reward sort of hole, right? Where there's a bailout on the right side, water lines the left side. So,
Yep.
you'll probably see a lot of guys putting from 30, 40 feet to those left pins. Number seven, yeah, number seven is
Seven.
another par three, small green. It's got those two trees that are surrounding the green on both the right and left side, where you got to be very accurate. I've seen
Yep.
balls hit that left tree, right, ricochet into the water, ricochet into plug lines in the bunker. So
Yep.
that's another tough par three. We go to number, what is it, number 13? No, number 14.
14
That's
and
probably the
17 on the
toughest.
back.
Yeah, 14 is probably the toughest par three out there. Again, water up the right this time.
Didn't Chris Kirk ace that last year, if I'm remembering correctly? I think he hit a draw
I don't
over the
remember.
water. It
Oh
was,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, draw right over the water when that's like just a shot nobody should ever play on that hole, it
Mm.
looks like. But that was pretty sick.
And then we got 15, right? The one par five on the back nine. That's a great par five, right? That second shot, it plays reachable even though it is longer because
Yeah.
it has that dog leg where you can just hit it over the tree on your second shot. And
That's where Scotty got the mud ball and went into the water, right? At the
yeah,
like before when they had to like delay play because of the weather. I think he had that mud ball right before.
yeah. And I remember Akshay hit like such an incredible shot there last year. I mean,
Yeah.
he can hit his wood so damn high.
That's because you're right. You got to go over those trees if you're going for it. You really can't see the hole. It's just like
No.
knowing where it's at and going right over those trees.
Yep. And then it's a good finish, right? 16's a birdie hole. They have that one lone tree in the middle of the fairway, but guys aren't really getting too close to that. Still
No,
leaves themselves a wedge in.
they were well back.
18 is a good hole, right? It's got a pretty wide tee shot. It's not
Mhm.
very a big target in terms of the distance from front to back, but from side to side, it's like 100 yards. I mean, it's a big, big
Oh, it's
target.
very wide. Yeah.
So a lot of guys just rip a three wood there. Unless you're a shorter hitter and you can hit driver and stay short of that stuff on the left.
Yeah.
So again, it's a good golf course. It's one I've always enjoyed watching. Usually produces some solid leaderboards, right? We
Yeah.
saw Scotty win last year, Fitzpatrick win the year before. That's the
Yeah.
year he went on to, I believe that's the year he went on to win the U.S. Open, unless it was the year after.
I
But
think did Fitz win it in 22 or was it that recent in 23
I think it was.
for the US Open?
Oh, let me see.
Let me see. He won it in 2022.
Okay, and then he won
Oh
what?
yeah, he won this the year
23.
after he won the, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so he won this the year after. But again, just a couple solid winners since the elevated events. It has become an
Week
elevated
two.
event,
Yep.
and it's we'll start talking about some players that we like, some players that we don't like, and get into it a little bit. So, where do you want to start, Dice?
So, a couple names that stood out to me near the top of the board, just two real names we could talk about a little bit. We got Patrick Cantley, 18 to 1, and then you got Justin Thomas, 20 to 1. So, I just think, both of those have pretty good course history. Cantley's course history is literally unbelievable at this place. I think he has two seconds and then at least like, three, four top fives at, this course specifically, the Harbour Town Golf Links. So, I mean, Cantley just simply how well he's played this course in the past makes him stand out to me. And then JT, I still think, I mean, honestly, I think 20 to 1 is a really solid number with how he's played for the year as a whole. I know last week, didn't play too well when I was on him then, but 20 to 1 honestly stood out a little bit for JT compared to the rest of the field with no Rory, especially at with just, how well he's played this year and then also having like a top, I think it was top 10 last year at this event.
Yeah, JT is a guy that I am looking at this week. It's more going to be, looking after the first round to see his game plan. If he can keep
Yeah,
that driver in the bag and just
I
rip
agree.
3 wood, right? Rip 5 wood. And he has
Yep.
that mini driver now, right?
It
Rip,
was ugly last week, the driver. It was
yeah.
bad.
He's hitting it shorter than usual. He's hitting it offline. So
Yeah.
just keep that bad boy in the bag. There's plenty of room to rip that mini driver, hit the
Yep.
5 wood on the shorter holes, and still have wedges in, right?
A
And
lot
his
of holes
iron
like
game is
that.
great. It's going to come down to his putting more than likely,
Yeah.
which has been hit or miss. It's been better, but it's still very much hit or miss,
Yeah.
right? Shane Lowry, it seems like it should be I've talked about him every week we've been on the podcast. I'm not going to pick him this week, but I do want to discuss. It was another pick of mine last week. He played very, very solid golf
Yeah. It's poor finish.
until the end of Saturday, right? And then also Sunday was disgusting. I mean, I don't even
I didn't
know.
realize it was 81.
Yeah, 81. I think he was just completely pissed off with how he finished and then, got off to kind of a sloppy start
And
and
then it was
he must
done.
have just given up. I mean,
Yeah.
Lowry can't shoot 81 when he's grinding. And then
Yeah.
he's probably looking at Rory the whole time too, right? Looking at the leaderboards. That's his boy. He probably will still be hungover to start Thursday from his drinking on Sunday night with Rory and also his 81. Can't imagine how many Guinnesses he deleted. But he's a guy. If he does play good golf to start, I'll be keeping my eye on him as well. And then the last guy I wanted to discuss, I'm not going to pick him, right? Is Jordan Spieth. I
Good
always
number.
forget, right? He's also one away
It's crazy. Yeah.
from the
The
Grand
PGA
Slam.
Championship, right?
Yeah, the PGA Championship. But he's played well here in the past, right? He has a win. He has a couple other solid finishes, and he played well on the weekend last week, right?
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, nothing
He's played
crazy.
well this year.
Yeah, he's played solid, right? He's just had those blow up holes, which does scare me, right? That's why I'm not going to pick him this week with a tree line course because he has been hitting driver everywhere.
It's just not one of those places, especially if
No,
it's like even off a little bit. It's just you're gonna get yourself into some rough
yeah.
places hitting driver on whole.
I don't even remember the last time I've seen him hit like a 3 wood off the tee.
He obviously he trained for distance a lot and it's worked out. I mean he's a great driver of the golf ball now, but it also course like this it sort of goes out of your favor if you get a little bit too aggressive. You get yourself in the wrong spot and then you try to still get to the green from there. It goes from maybe a bogey by just chipping out just one of those holes and managing, or maybe it turns into a triple because he plays it stupidly.
Yep. And then Henley, it's another guy. I'm not picking him this week, but I do
Should be a
like.
good fit.
It's a good fit, right? He's a phenomenal driver, solid iron player, solid putter, right? Pretty good chipper.
Mhm.
So there's really no holes in his game. Horrible start last week. I don't know what happened in the first round.
Played great though
Played a
Friday.
great round on Friday. Almost got himself inside the cut line there. So he's a guy I'm definitely going to be looking at as well this week.
Yep.
I could see Fleetwood playing well here. Finally he's not like top five in odds.
Yeah, I know.
33 to
It's nice
1.
to see he's down to a better range.
Yeah, he's in the range where he should be right around Jason Day, McIntyre,
Yeah.
Sungjae. That makes sense to me. So I can see him playing well this week. You saw the new mini driver TaylorMade came out with?
I saw a guy out there with two of them and walking with his group. Obviously, he was probably ripping that
Oh,
thing.
yeah, 100%. The R, you probably don't remember the R7, but
I Yeah, I don't remember using it, but I remember, just like hearing
remember
of
the
it.
club? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool to see. That R7 coming back. So I am interested as well in Tommy this week. We'll see how he's got to get off to a good start. He hasn't put himself in contention to start in a
No.
while. It's
But
been a
we'll have a good
long time.
round to finish top 20 or something.
Yeah. And he's been very consistent doing that. But again, if he wants to contend, he's got to be out in front, right? He's got
Exactly.
to give himself a chance to feel those emotions again and feel, that feeling and that it's only going to help him in the future, even if he doesn't win, just at least be in contention for real coming down the stretch on Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I like his number, and I think obviously, again, for his style of game, how good his irons and wedges are, should be a pretty good fit. But like we've talked about in the past, simply hasn't proven he could win similar to some other guys, but he just gets to respect because how good his like data, like all those underlying numbers, shot gains, all that stuff. But I could see him playing well. It's just a matter of, I sort of got to probably see it with him to actually believe he can win. And then once he knocks that off, I'm sure he'll probably, get a couple, which is how good of a player he is.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to go through our picks?
Yeah. I'll start off with one of mine, just what I was going over before. I'm gonna take JT again this week, Justin Thomas at 20 to 1. Again, I similar things to what I talked about last week. He's been playing great golf all year. Should have one of those wins already knocked off from the Valspar, but obviously he played pretty stupidly to close that out, especially on hole 16. That goes into what you were saying, which is just keeping the driver in the bag as much as possible. Get yourself in the fairway, go to your strengths, trust the irons like you have, all year. That's going to put you in a good spot. And if he continues to putt like he has the last month at this point, I think he's going to be right up there on Sunday with a pretty solid shot at 20 to 1. And then also, we didn't talk about him yet. I got Set Straka at 45 to 1. I honestly just like, I'm always confused by Sep's numbers simply because how good of golf he's played all year. He won earlier in the season at the Amex. He's come probably top 20, I think, in 75, 80% of his events this year at this point. So I think 45 to 1, a great number. He finished third here last year, I think, behind Scotty, and then Sahith finished well after the delay on
Oh, he did.
the
Oh,
Monday
nice.
finish. So I think he finished third here last year. But again, he's very accurate off the tee, great iron player, can get very high with the putter. So I think 45 to 1 with his form, even though he missed the cut, honestly, I don't think obviously you don't want to miss the cut at the Masters, but I think like, missing the cut or not playing the best, not really exerting energy, being in contention there could be a positive for like a tournament the week after.
100%.
Yeah. So I like him at 45 to 1. Then my last guy I got is Ashke at 70 to 1. I
Okay.
yeah, I'm trying I was saying Ash K, now I'm saying it a different I'm trying to figure it out for my because I love him. So I think he's a great number at 70 to 1. Again, I mean he's putt great this year to be honest. Not just well. I think he's probably top 30, 40 on tour. I didn't pull up the numbers exactly, but I think just from what I saw last, he's around there. Obviously a striper of the golf ball. I know for the most part, like I think of him as like maybe a longer course player, which is how much he can move it off the tee, how much he could shape those long irons, those woods, everything like that. But I think that could also be a benefit this week with how skinny these fairways are, wanting to shape it, get yourself certain angles into like certain pin locations, stuff like that. So I think 70 to 1 for Batia is a pretty good number this week.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention these picks are brought to you by Good Saturday. That's our first sponsor of the show. It's my wife's boutique. If you do want a hat, we got a few different colors. DM us, DM Brothers on the Green, DM me, DM Dice. We'll ship that out anywhere. All right. Good Saturday. You can see it there.
Yes. There you go.
Having said that, we need Cam Young to get to Saturday. There's no cut this week, but I don't
Is there
know.
not even like a small cut like the
No, the only small cut events are Genesis, uh, Arnie, and then Jack's event, the three goats.
All right, so they made the cut. That's step one down. There we go.
So that is one of my picks. Just, I mean, the odds are just silly. Plus
It's
200,000. I mean,
imagine he's 200 to 1. Like I think he was, I don't remember exactly, but he was probably 40 to 1, 45 to 1 last year. Like that's how
yeah.
far he's fallen.
And the year before, he was probably like 20 to 1.
And like we obviously, I'm a sicko with him. I tracked every single shot of his rounds, regardless of how he's playing. And I mean, like his irons have sucked, yes, but it's like his form isn't as bad as his scores signify. He's just one of those players that when he's going bad, it feels like he's gonna get the worst possible score out of his round, regardless of how he's hitting it that day. Like if there's simply just one bad thing that happens, he's gonna let it snowball into hole after hole, and he's just gonna fuck up his round. So if he could simply maybe get off to a good start, get somehow positive thoughts, if those ever come into his brain, coming
Right.
into his brain and actually believing a little bit, I'm sure we could see some good scores. I'm not quite sure about winning yet, with just how bad it's been, but
Yeah,
I
I just feel like
he
it's
needs
it's
to
it's
stop shooting
gonna
himself in the
happen.
foot every day.
It's gonna, it's just gonna happen at some point. He's gonna
Yeah,
have to start playing good golf again. I mean, he's got too much talent. He's
or
got
he'll lose his
too many
card.
wins throughout his whole career, amateur, right? Winning state opens, Met opens, big,
Yeah,
getting to the USAM Final Four multiple years in a row. And then you go to college, right? He had multiple wins. He was one of the best Wake Forest players, really, of all time. And he comes out, wins on the Corn Ferry, right? So,
twice back to back.
yeah, back-to-back weeks. So I really just think it's gonna happen at some point. Not that there's been much trending in his direction. He is starting to hit it slightly better, right? I mean,
His driver's been great.
he was even through what 28 holes last week. I mean, and
Didn't
then
he shoot even in round one? Yeah, yeah,
shot
28 holes.
even, and then he was even par through 10, I believe. Had a good look at birdie on 11, missed it, doubled 12, and
Took a drop.
yeah,
Yep. And then
it
you had
just
the
went
six
from.
that ESPN sent a freaking notification about Cam Young three putting from one. That was
Yeah,
just a
and
gross
16.
notification
That's
to
his
get.
thing. Once he knows he's out of it, he literally gives
He's
up.
right on the cut line still, though. That's he was at plus
Yeah.
going into that hole, and if he just got a bogey, he could have got one back and made the cut. But nah,
No, he gives up. So this week he's not going to give up.
he
He's going to have a
can't.
good
He has to
Saturday.
play 4 rounds.
But also he needs FedEx points. Like he's literally not going to be a top 50 player in the
Huh?
world FedEx anything, and he's going to be playing in tournaments he's never played in before because he refuses to play in any other events. He's going to be at the Mexican Open. He's going to be at Punta Cana next year.
With
He's going to
Aldrich.
be in the
Aldrich will be here next.
doghouse if he just doesn't start to play decent golf. And again, for him, if he could just get hot and somehow make the Ryder Cup at Bethpage, his career will change. I
I
know he's
agree.
nowhere close to that, but that's a home game for him, right? Again, he won the New York State Open there, shooting 64 in the last round to beat like Mike Miller and some Corn Ferry guys now, right? That when he was 16 years old. So,
Crazy.
I mean, that's in the bag. That's still there. It just mentally has to happen. If
Yep.
I were him, I'm calling my caddy, my boy from college, and saying, "Let's go do it again." I mean, he clearly was more comfortable. He knew his game. He knew his mentality.
Yeah, it's just about being comfortable on the course. It's like it's
Yeah,
not anything about obviously, that you want them to help with decisions and if they could read putts, whatever certain caddies bring to the table. But end of the day, most important thing is like feeling good out there, being comfortable. And he simply hasn't looked comfortable for a long time.
yeah. So that's my first pick is Cam Young. Again, not many positive things to say regarding his current form, but I just know it's in there somewhere. And if you're gonna tell me, I mean, you could put $10 on it to win 2 grand.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You got
So
a
then we
dollar.
got Corey Connors plus 2,500. He's played well here in the past. It's again a ball striker's golf course. I think it's a perfect fit for him. And I don't think he really has to. Again, depending on how firm it is, I'm assuming it's going to get pretty firm because it hasn't rained there in a while, right? It didn't rain there really all last week while we were there, and there's no rain in the forecast, so they should let it get pretty firm. He doesn't have to putt great to win, right? The only problem is his putting on Sunday has been terrible the last few weeks because he has
And
been
he's
putting it.
putted better, like for the most part, but yeah, Sunday's still been he
Sunday, he has not
30
been making
plus putts
anything.
around.
Yeah, right. Arnold Palmer, didn't make a birdie till 16.
Yep.
Last week, he friggin' yipped a putt on the first hole of Sunday.
But he's been up there every week. Like he's played great golf all year.
Yeah. So Corey Connors is my second pick, 25 to 1. Then I got Viktor Hovland, 30 to 1. He's a streaky player, right? When he starts to feel good about his game, he's finally talking more positively, and he's a guy that I believe tells the truth about his game, right, and where he's at mentally. I've got a lot of confidence in him. 30 to 1, I think is a good number, right around that Fleetwood range, and I think he has a much better chance to actually win than Tommy Fleetwood, right? So it's a course where the driver matters, and his 3 wood is very powerful as well, and his irons are rounding into form with his putting being very solid, right?
Yeah.
The only thing is the chipping. You got everyone's going to have to chip around here because the greens are very small,
Mm.
especially if they do firm up. But his chipping's good enough, right? It's not like there's a lot of big false edges or
No, it's
thick
not. Yeah, it's
rough.
not like I was gonna say. It's not. It didn't look like too tough to chip there. Like it's
No.
very non-penal rough. Again, the greens are definitely small, but like bunkers, not any sort of thick rough where you're gonna have a bad lie, stuff like that. So he should. I think he should be all right. But obviously, there might be a couple spots where it's a bit
Yeah.
tough.
For sure. So those are my 3 picks: Cam Young, Corey Connors, Viktor Hovland. And then I'll get in. I got a couple top 10 bets, and then we both got top 20. So top 10, I got Bud Cauley plus 550. Been playing phenomenal golf, right? He's somehow
Great.
snuck his way into top 10s pretty much in the last 3 or 4 events he's played in.
Yep.
And this is a golf course that fits his game. He's not a bomber. He's a great iron player. He's got a solid short game. So, plus 550 I feel like is good value there. Aaron Rye plus 330. Same story, right? I mean, this guy really barely hits golf shots. He's
Yeah.
just one of the shorter players, but he's extremely consistent, top to bottom through his bag. So I see him right sneaking into that top 10 and finishing there for the week.
I love that. Yeah, I saw Aaron out there with those interesting group: Tommy, Minwoo, and Aaron. I saw them on 16.
Yeah, that is interesting. I
Yeah.
like that. So who are your top 20s?
So top 20, I got three of them. I have lowest guy I have is JT Poston. He's at plus 190. I mean, again, I think it should be a pretty good course fit. I didn't look too much into his history here. I think it's all right if I'm remembering correctly, but again, he's not too deep off the tee. He's a great putter when he gets going, and he's also a pretty solid iron player. So I think it should be a pretty solid fit for him overall. And then at plus 190, pretty good number there. I got Lucas Glover plus 210. He actually doesn't have like too good of course history you were telling me before, but just thinking about it, he should be a great fit for it in terms of just like accurate off the tee, able to place it where he wants, and then obviously his irons and wedges are top of the tour in terms of numbers and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I think plus 210, pretty solid number. Even though it doesn't have good history, I do like the fit for his game with this course.
I mean, if
And
he's
then
driving
last,
it decent, it's he's going to give
it's
himself so many chances.
exactly. If the putting's just somewhat there, even though obviously we don't need him to win, but if it's just somewhat there, he's making a couple, he should be able to get to like 12, 13, 14 under par, which should be, plenty for getting into the top 20 with like the recent scores of the past couple of years.
Yep. Did you have one
Yeah.
more?
Yeah, one more. I got Billy Horschel plus 280. I just think, going back to last week, he didn't make the cut there at the Masters, so obviously that's maybe not the best sign for his form. But Billy, I don't really see him as like a major type of player in terms of just like his style of game right now with where it's at, like U.S. Open, PGA. I don't really see him
Yeah, he's more of a
contend.
British Open type where it's shorter course.
Yeah, he's almost like a European type of guy. He plays all those events at the end of the year. Like he's very good
Yeah.
when he gets over there.
And
And then I
that's
just
this course works like that.
exactly. He doesn't have to hit driver too much. He's just got to get himself in good spots, like we said, for the rest of the guys. And then Billy could actually putt a little bit. If he gives himself the looks, he could roll it when he gets hot. So I think at plus 280, his type of competitor wanting to get his game back in form, getting some better results, it should be a pretty solid number.
Yeah, no, I do like Horschel grinding out a top 20 this week.
And he was grinding on the range. I saw all these
Oh, he
guys.
always is. He's such a grinder.
Jason Day's right next to him, like four guys on his team around him, and then you got Billy Horschel just alone with the
Yeah, his tripod.
tripod behind him. One swing, look at the video. Another swing, look at the video. Man was just working.
He was doing that at the Travelers last year too, just grinding.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I got 3 top 20s also. I'm going right back to Tom Hogue. He has not let me down yet. Plus 230. He's a ball striker. He's a guy that I'm really infatuated with his game right now because he is finally putting decently,
Yeah.
and he's always been a great iron player, and he's driving it decent, solid enough right now. Ryan Gerard plus 300. Dice talked about him a couple weeks ago. I also had him the week before that, right, for a top 20.
Playing well.
Plus 300. He's a flusher. Pretty much everyone's a flusher, right? But he really has come into his own, and he's going to be able to I think keep getting closer to breaking through, and that just happens with consistently, making money and coming inside that top 20, top 10. That builds up your confidence very quickly.
That-
The last one, Zalatoris plus 220.
Wow.
It's a no cut week, so again, I think that's good for him, right? He could go low, low, low here if he's striking the ball well. And really,
Mhm.
you're just gonna need one like, 7, 8 under round and then a couple decent rounds there to sneak into that top 20. So those are my three top 20s. We got Hogue plus 230, Gerard plus 300, and Zalatoris plus 220.
I like
So
it.
it's again, I'm very excited to watch the golf this week. More specifically this weekend, because it's always comes really. I feel like it comes down to the end. Last year, not as much, but Fitzpatrick had the clutch up, right? Spieth had the clutch up.
Yeah, and
There's been a lot of
Fitzpatrick clutched
playoffs
up
here in the
against
past.
speed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the Heritage, right? That's Harbour Town Golf Links. I know Dice wanted to talk a little bit about the Punta Cana, right? Talk
What's
about
the
his
list?
guys in specific, and then I threw a couple names on here to throw out there as well.
Yeah. So my two guys I'll be taking there, just two single bullets. I got Aldrich Potgieter. That's one of my guys. I'm a big believer in his game and just him coming into form at a certain point. Once he gets some more reps on tour, maybe picks up a win so he can play on some of these courses and get some reps there as well for like years moving forward. But I just think he's a stud. He's at 40 to 1 now. He started off the week at 55 to 1. There was probably just like 15, 20 withdrawals, and then everybody loves themselves some Aldrich. So probably got steam down there. And then my other guy, Michael Thorbjornsen, he's 50 to 1. I'm simply a big believer in his talent. He won the what's it called, the PGA Tour U, so that's how he got on tour going back to, was it last 2024, like end of the season basically after the summer?
I believe so. Yeah.
Or beginning of the summer, maybe whatever it was, but I think it went back to last year. He hasn't got off to the best start this year in terms of his results and everything like that, but just tracking him still, it seems like his past two events at this point, he's found some better form. So I think 50 to 1 in that type of field with the talent that he is winning the PGA Tour U, it should be a pretty solid number if he's able to put a couple things together.
Yeah, absolutely. One. So I put on here Ryan Fox. That's my guy, right? Same story that Dice has. He's a bomber. I feel like he's ready to break through. He's won some big European tour events, right? It's only a matter of time before he figures it out on tour.
What's he
So
at number wise? Oh,
33
33
to
to 1.
1.
Yeah.
And then we got who'd I say? Joel Damon plus 4,000. Been playing great golf this year. Very, very consistent.
Yeah.
He's won. I don't know if it was he might have won here in the past.
So it's one of these like coastal type of areas.
Yeah, on an island somewhere.
Yeah. That
So
was his
Joel
first
Damon.
win.
And then the last one, a local guy and local Jersey boy, Chris Gotterup. He is he plays very well in these sort
He
of
does.
secondary events when there are two events on the tour that week. He's had some history of playing well, takes a little pressure off himself, and
Mhm.
that's where he got his one win, right? But also some
Hurdle.
good top fives. Yeah, so Joel Damon, Fox, and Chris Gotterup are my three picks for the Corrales. So I won't
Beautiful.
watch a single second of that probably,
No.
but
Unless they're in contention come Sunday. That's what it should be.
well, I'm sure, yeah, you'll be watching for Pot Geeter. Would you rather Pot Geeter win or Cam Young?
I'd have to say Cam, he's at 200 to 1. I mean, that's some, but also just for my personal self. I mean, I've been riding with Cam for since I became a golf addict, basically. And then Pot Eater was just, ever since the Mexican Open. So I'd have to say Cam, but Geeter has a lot of pull on me at the same time, to be honest.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's I was hoping that would be your answer. I know you would have some sort of feelings for Pot Geeter, but it's got to be Cam.
It's
Got to be
different,
Cam.
yeah. It's a little different.
So that's the podcast this week. We are going to be posting some videos. We did record a little bit last week while we were away. Not a lot. We got a couple swing videos. We're going to want our viewers to guess what our handicaps are. And then just give a little tease to what it will look like in the future. But we're going to give it a shot. We have no idea really how to edit or do much of anything. But you just got to start and you'll figure it out from there. So that's the plan. Any last thoughts for you, Dice?
No, I'm good. I mean, obviously we gave out our guys. We'll post the picks as well on our X accounts just to get those out there outside of the video itself. But honestly, I love our card. I love the guys you took outright, top 10, top 20. I feel very comfortable with the guys that I got as well, and it's just a matter of maybe bouncing back a little bit, getting a winner, and just getting on to the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Have a good night, and let's go Cam Young.